Hello, everyone. I hope you're all having a wonderful night. So, in our last ASMR video, we read Ruby the Red Fairy as part of the Rainbow Magic book series from Daisy Meadows. In the Rainbow series, there are 7 fairies. Ruby was the first one. So the next one is Amber the Orange Fairy. So tuck yourselves in bed, get comfortable, and enjoy the story. The first chapter is A Very Unusual Shell. What a lovely day, Rachel Walker shouted, staring up at the blue sky. She and her friend Caitie-cat were running along Rainspell Island's yellow sandy beach. Their parents walked a little way behind them. It's a magical day, Kirsty added. The two friends smiled at each other. Rachel and Kirsty had come to Rainspell Island for their holidays. They had soon found out it really was a magical place. As they ran, they passed rock pools that shone like jewels in the sunshine. Rachel spotted a little splash in one of the pools. There's something in there, Kirsty, she pointed. Let's go and look. The girls jogged over to the pool and crouched down to see. Kirsty's heart thumped as she gazed into the crystal clear water. What is it? She asked. Suddenly the water rippled. A little brown crab scuttered sideways across the sandy bottom and vanished under a rock. Kirsty felt disappointed. I thought it might be another rainbow fairy, she said. So did I, Rachel sighed. Never mind, we'll keep on looking. Of course we will, Kirsty agreed. Then she put her fingers to her lips as their parents came up behind them. Shh. Kirsty and Rachel had a big secret. They were helping to find the rainbow fairies thanks to Jack Frost's wicked spell. The fairies were lost on Rainspell Island, and until they were all found there will be no color in fairyland. Rachel looked at the shimmering blue sea. Shall we have a swim? She asked. But Kirsty wasn't listening. She was shading her eyes with her hand and looking further along the beach. Over there, Rachel, by those rocks, she said. Then Rachel could see it too, something winking and sparkling in the sunshine. Wait for me, she called, as Kirsty hurried over there. When they saw what it was, the two friends sighed in disappointment. It's just the wrapper from a chocolate bar, Rachel said sadly. She bent down and picked up the shiny purple foil. Kirsty thought for a moment. Do you remember what the Fairy Queen said? She asked. Rachel nodded. Let my magic come to you, she said. You're right, Kirsty. We should just enjoy our holiday and wait for the magic to happen. After all, that's how we found Ruby in the pot at the end of the rainbow, isn't it? She put down her beach bag on the sand. Come on, race you into the sea. They rushed into the water. The sea was cold and salty, but the sun felt warm on their backs. They waved at their parents sitting on the sand and splashed about in the waves until they got goosebumps. Ow! Kirsty gasped as they paddled out of the water. I just stood on something sharp. It might have been a shell, said Rachel. There are a lot of them around here. She picked up a pale pink one and showed Kirsty. Let's see how many we can find, Kirsty said. The two girls walked along the beach looking for shells. They found long, thin blue shells and tiny ones, round white shells. Soon their hands were full. They had walked right around the curve of the bay. Rachel looked over her shoulder and a sudden gust of wind whipped her hair across her face. "Look how far we've come," she said. Kirsty stopped, the wind tugging at her t-shirt and made goosebumps stand out on her arms. "It's getting cold now," she said. "Shall we go back?" "Yes, it must be nearly tea time," said Rachel. The two girls began to walk back along the beach. They'd only gone a few steps when the wind suddenly dropped again. "That's funny," said Kirsty. "It's not windy here." They looked back and saw little swirls of sand being blown into the wind, where they'd just been. "Oh," said Rachel, and the two friends looked at each other with excitement. "It's magic," Kirsty whispered. "It has to be." They walked back and the breeze swirled around their legs again. Then the golden sand at their feet began to drift gently to one side, as if invisible hands were pushing it away. A large scallop shell appeared much bigger than the other shells on the beach. It was pearly white with soft orange streaks, and it was tightly closed. Quickly, the girls knelt down on the sand, spilling the little shells out of their hands. Kirsty was just about to pick up the scallop shell when Rachel put out her hand. "Listen," she whispered. They both listened hard. There it was again. Inside the shell, a tiny silvery voice hummed softly. Chapter 2: The Magic Feather. Very carefully, Rachel picked up the shell. It felt warm and smooth. The humming stopped at once. "I must have been scared." "I mustn't be scared," said the tiny voice. "I just have to be brave and help will come very soon." Kirsty put her face close to the shell. "Hello," she whispered. "Is there a fairy in there?" "Yes," cried the voice. "I'm Amber, the orange fairy. Can you get me out of here?" "Of course we will," Kirsty promised. "My name is Kirsty, and my friend Rachel is here too." She looked up at Rachel, her eyes shining. "We found another rainbow fairy." "Quick," Rachel said. "Let's get the shell open." She took hold of the scallop shell and tried to pull the two halves apart. Nothing happened. "Try again," said Kirsty. She and Rachel each grasped one half of the shell and tugged, but the shell stayed tightly shut. "What's happening?" Amber called. She sounded worried. "We can't open the shell," Kirsty said. "But we'll think of something." She turned to Rachel. "If we find a piece of driftwood, maybe we can use it to open the shell." Rachel glanced around the beach. "I can't see any driftwood," she said. "We could try tapping the shell on a rock, but that might hurt Amber," Kirsty pointed out. Suddenly, Rachel remembered something. "What about the magic bags the Fairy Queen gave us?" she said. "Of course," Kirsty cried. She put her face close to the shell again. "Amber, we're going to look in our magic bags," she said. "Okay, but please hurry." Amber called. Rachel opened her beach bag. The two magic bags were hidden under the towel. One of the bags was glowing with a golden light. Carefully, Rachel pulled it out. "Look," she whispered to Kirsty. "This one is all lit up." "Open it quick," Kirsty whispered back. As Rachel undid the bag, A fountain of glittering sparks flew out. "What's inside?" Kirsty asked, her eyes wide. Rachel slid her hand into the bag. She could feel something light and soft. She pulled it out, scattering sparkles everywhere. It was a shimmering golden feather. Kirsty and Rachel stared at the feather. "It's really pretty," said Kirsty. "But what are we going to do with it?" "I don't know," Rachel replied. She tried to use the feather to push the two halves of the shell apart, but the feather was curled into her hand. "Maybe we should ask Amber." "Amber, we've looked in our magic bags," Kirsty said, "and we found a feather." "Oh, good," Amber said happily from the inside of the shell. "But we don't know what to do with it," Rachel added. Amber laughed. It sounded like the tinkle of a tiny bell. "You tickle the shell, of course," she said. "Do you think that will work?" Rachel said to Kirsty. "Let's give it a try," Kirsty said. Rachel began to tickle the shell with the feather. At first nothing happened. Then they heard a soft, gritty chuckle. Then another and another. Slowly the two halves of the shell began to open. "It's working," Kirsty gasped. "Keep tickling, Rachel." The shell was laughing hard now. The two halves opened wider. And there, sitting in the smooth, peach-colored shell, was Amber the Orange Fairy. And we're gonna leave it at there. I like the story so far. It's pretty interesting. I wonder if the others will be as good. And for other ASMR videos, I won't just be reading Rainbow Magic books. From what I've heard, there's thousands of them, so I have to take a break from them at some point, and I might read bigger books like Icebreaker from Hannah Grace or Wildfire. But that will be in future videos. Let's just focus on this one for now. I hope you all have a nice sleep, and I hope you all enjoyed this story. Good night.